So what's going on? Busy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Excited to be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking, obviously this is the first time you and I are meeting, Ian.
Yeah.
But I was hip to the inclusion of yourself in ROK10. I think the last time when you interviewed me, he had just came aboard. I think that was...
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, cool, yeah. Now I was trying to think of like how long it's been since the last time I had you on. But the last time I had you on was when I was doing a couple interviews at TCP.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked to have you guys here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful space.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm blessed and fortunate to have it. But it's a lot of damn work. Setting this all up and then putting it all back down every night. But I'm getting ready to wind down here this third season. So
Word.
yeah. But let's talk about what you guys are up to. I know obviously ROK10 is going to come up. I know you have a project you want to discuss, but like you just showed me. Let me see if I can get this on camera. It's ROK10 Rollers, ROK10 rolling paper.
Yep.
So like, let's start here then, because this is a conversation piece. Like what spurred the idea of having your own rolling paper? Was it, you were just smoking one night and you were like, it'd be pretty dope if we had our own paper.
Yeah, it was kind of like a combination of the two, right? So, I mean, one of the number one things that people ask for at the studio is like, hey, you guys got rolling papers?
Yeah.
So we were like sending so many people to the corner store all the time. And then I thought about it for a while and was like, hey, I could just like get a tobacco license and start selling other people's papers and like help people out that way. Or why don't we just make our own thing?
Yeah.
And that's literally just how it came about. It was actually, I got to give a shout out to Too Easy. He went across the street to Ignition and got some rolling papers that were the Skate John papers.
Okay.
And I thought they were Ignition's papers, like the skate shop over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. They have their own rolling papers. We should make our own. And I found out it wasn't even theirs. They were just selling some other ones. But
that's what spurred the idea.
Yeah.
How is that process of like, how do you go about creating your own rolling paper?
So, I mean, there's a couple different ways to go about it. But what we did is like I found a company that prints them, that does like all the design work. And then they have a supplier that makes the actual papers themselves.
Yeah.
Figure all that out. I contacted Adam Serrano, who does a lot of our design work.
Okay.
He put together a sick design, and then I just sent it out to them, waited a couple weeks, and got the first shipment.
Yeah. I'm so naive because I'm like, I look at something like that. I'm like, how do you go about
Yeah.
getting this? You know,
You could do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the internet, so much is possible. You're just like, who makes these?
Yeah.
And then you just send them an email, and you're like, I got this design, put it on the thing.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So right now we're selling them just at the studio, but in the next couple months we're going to start pushing them out to like local retail stores.
So you're talking about summertime. We're looking at this
Ish. It was Ian's idea. It was super good thought to keep them just selling them at the studio to get kind of like people that wouldn't maybe necessarily come to the studio because they're not recording or whatever to just come and visit to get some papers. So we're doing that, and then we have a couple stores and a cool local art gallery. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
That's going to start selling.
Well, dope. So. I hope it kicks off, man. I think this is a unique idea, too, because you don't really see many people doing that.
Yeah.
And it's just another little extra thing. That's just like, it took some work to put it all together, but then it's like, you want to print more, you've got everything right there, and you just put in another order. And it's just like, well, why not make them?
Yeah.
And they're good quality, too.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's our product. We want it to be the best quality that we can, but like they're all natural, all organic.
Yeah.
They taste delicious.
That process of like selecting the paper and
they have like a whole lot of different options when it comes to like manufacturing.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so smoke them if you got them, and we're summertime-ish.
Look for them in stores, but until then, ROK10Productions.com. Book yourself a session. Come through.
There we go.
417 West Green
Street. I love it. The entrepreneurial mind. Like I'm still learning in my own right, but this is a nice conversation starter. But it's also a great idea. Like fuck it, why not? You know
right,
what I mean?
and it's its own business card, and you don't even have to hand it out. Once we get it in the stores, it's like
and
go
right
to the
now in
website.
today's day and age, it's like it's you couldn't think of something like this 15, 20 years ago. Now it's just like with the legalization of weed and it becoming not so taboo for the older generation rather. But this is such a dope. I love the idea. I love the font.
Yeah.
It's just sleek and even got the ROK10 logo
and it has that like smooth kind of satin finish. And if you open it up,
let's do that.
The coolest little piece is right underneath where the papers come out.
See, I'm such a rookie at this.
No, you're good. There's a little like tab.
Yeah, just pull that out.
Okay. I think I'm ripping it, Byron. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
So if you look underneath that first
paper
there's
the crutches in the top, so you can roll up your filters.
Yeah.
Website right there.
Yeah, those are tips. But
and then if you pull that paper up, you can see underneath there's like instructions.
Yeah.
If you would.
Yeah.
You guys have instructions on how to get this shit going.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do, but like here's a template.
And I think off the top of my head, it's like I have to be looking at it, but it's like take the stuff, put the stuff in there, and then turn up the volume.
Yeah, it's like
which I got to give props to Adam. That was all him.
Yeah,
you're right. The last one.
Adam's so clever.
Yeah, he's great.
So you even had that. That wasn't like a template that was provided for you.
Yeah, no, and because you can they're like these are all the panels you have to put things on. What do you want to put on them? And you can kind of just like drop whatever you're thinking in there.
Yeah,
I love it. What else do you guys have in mind then? Is this the beginning of something as far as the business and
possibly?
Yeah,
we were just talking about possibly a small run of some type of merch. You've always thought about merch. You were like balaclavas for a minute. You really wanted to embroider a bunch of shiesties with the ROK10 logo.
Yeah. I really wanted to do that. I don't know. I want to say if I'm happy that it didn't work out, but it's also like, I don't know. Like, like when like the balaclavas, like the
like
ski mask kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we were going to do like ROK10 ones of those.
And they didn't
And
work
then the
out.
company that I was going to work with was like at the last minute was like, hey, we don't really feel comfortable making these because they're kind of associated with crime.
See, that's so freaking whack.
Which,
man.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, keep your face warm when it's cold out,
Right.
you know?
Like I would wear that skiing or snowboarding rather.
Yeah. But the concept of like having like ROK10 related things, like for sure. I mean, the kind of the inside baseball story of those, really, the other side of it is like we want to do merch and do like t-shirts and do all that other stuff. But I wanted to set up like a separate income stream that I can then use to fund the merch rather than just like pulling that out of like studio funds. Yeah. So I was like, let's see how the rollers go. It's a functional thing.
Right.
If people will like this, they'll probably also like to wear a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. It kind of like one hand washes the other in that regard, where you can kind of like start taking this and bleeding it into something else and letting the ideas kind of flow, having fun with it. It's not like you're trying to force something to be some sort of entrepreneur. It's natural. This is a dope ass idea.
Right. And we're not trying to take over the rolling paper industry.
Yeah.
we're just like, we want to put a foot in.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. All right, so let's talk about. Obviously, I want to get to know you a little bit more because I already talked to this stud over here a couple times. But the inclusion of you into ROK10, how did that come about? Because when I spoke to Byron originally, he was talking about how ROK10 came into play. We talked about that, but you weren't at the time. You weren't in the picture.
Yeah. Well, I exist. Yeah, but I was in the picture.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes.
It's not super long, but like I play in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
I have always played in bands. I play drums. I've been in Lancaster for like 11 or 12 years. Played drums for like maybe near 20. No, not since I was 9, but for a long time. And I used to rent a room at the Chameleon. Right before COVID happened, I was like, I'm sick of these stairs because the rooms were all the way upstairs. And I'd always seen Triforce and all the stuff that was happening over there. I was like, I would love to have a room up there. Started renting a room 2 doors down from Byron and like knew you loosely through Eric and then met you through Eric and then a mutual friend of ours, Eric Lutz. And then had been... was just using the room for rehearsal purposes for forever, and then knew that Byron was running a studio, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess you could like put a space up here like that. Bought a bunch of my own equipment, started doing like a small makeshift demoing studio, essentially like pre-production for the bands that I'm in.
Yeah.
To then, just so that we were more prepared going in to
Sure.
record whatever we were doing in the future. And then I was like, oh, this is really fun. Kept doing it and then kept learning more. And then I was just like, eventually bent Byron's ear and was like, yo, what if we like teamed up? Because like a lot of what ROK10 has always done has been vocal production, hip hop, stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm really, really interested in that, but also like I have a ton of experience in the live band space and like what all that does and sounds like and feels like. And I feel like I was just like, I need someone to help for sure. And like, I just don't, I've always been in bands. So like doing something completely alone was weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I could have, some extra knowledge and a helping hand, I think we could both
help
do some really cool stuff. And for the past 2 years, we've been doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, it kind of sounds like a no-brainer when you think about it. Like the experience on both ends kind of coming together. I mean, you guys obviously already vibed already, so it wasn't like you were getting to like work with somebody that you didn't really never met before, didn't have any type of foundation in regards to like like I said, the vibe, conversation, how you work. Those things come into play when you're like, I mean, ROK10 was already going to bring somebody in.
Like you didn't need me.
It needed to be.
I definitely needed you.
Well, I'm sure like
expand.
to do something different with what you have already, you need somebody else that has that foresight. But the vibe has to be there. That's not something. It's not like you both created this. It was already going. It needed to grow. Bring somebody else in, right? I mean, I'm sure it kicked off. Swell for you guys.
And like Eric was always just like kind of trying to steer us both in that direction anyway. Okay, like really? that was he masterminded the whole thing.
Okay,
it was his idea.
But our mutual friend Eric really like put us together because he was also running a room up there that was kind of like a practice space VR thing. Like it was it was where we would kind of go when we weren't working. And we like hung out a lot there. And one thing that was super cool was like, I didn't really know you that well. Mm-hmm. So I was like sick. Like I only know you for your work.
Right.
I didn't really know Ian that long before we started working together. So from my perspective, I had been in business with friends that I had known for a really long time in the past. Yeah. And it gets weird.
We talked about that, I think.
Yeah. So like when Ian and I started working together, I was like sick. Like, I don't know, let's get to know each other. You know what I mean? And like, but through the work, so I'd like to think we're friends now.
Yeah, I would agree. But like also, like being able to remove yourself in that regard. Yeah. I could see that. That's cool.
Yeah. I think too when it like this is a perfect, I keep coming back to this, but this is a perfect example. Like if I don't think if the chemistry was there working together, there wouldn't be other type of ideas and ventures that you would be willing to do with each other or
right.
I think something like that is it's unique and special when you have it. So with that being said, like where like now that this is taking place, where's ROK10? Is it still going where we left off last time? Or are you still, now that you have the experience with Ian, does that change what you foresee with ROK10?
If I remember correctly, the last time we spoke was probably the same concept that's still in my mind now of expansion and growth, of like trying to find bigger spaces, trying to find, build out our own spot, all that stuff. As time has gone on, I've realized and learned a lot about that. It's much more complicated than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I think that's still the goal, but a lot has happened in that time period. I think like the logical next step is either our own facility or like a more capable space. Because don't get me wrong, like the current ROK10 studio is great. Yeah. It knocks all the boxes. It works great for us. But like, it'd be sick to be able to have 4 more rooms that we can then like help out other people with, or we could start having classes there, or we could, rent out our own rooms for band rehearsals and like stuff like that. But like commercial real estate is
that what you mean when you say like,
like buying a building for like $5 million,
and then all the cost of the material to build it ourselves, really put it the way we want it.
Yeah. Like I've been to a lot of showings and been like, wow, this might actually be possible, and then like sat down and really like hammered out the details and be like, oh, okay,
right,
this is like a 10-year down the road type of thing, you know. But yeah, I'd say like I'm happy with where we are now. Like I think we're making some really good stuff, but yeah, just more of what's already happening and just more stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
I
I always just want more.
When you start doing what you're doing, and like what I'm learning is, you start doing what you're doing, you're enjoying it, then the more ideas come. When you say more, like it's like you were just mentioning, if I had more rooms, I could do this, and then the pistons start firing off, and then it's like you get hit with like that. This next level comes with next level responsibilities and expectations that are different, and it's just like, fuck, like I didn't realize it was going to be like that, but it makes sense. So like, I mean, like when you have that experience, what does that do for you guys? Are you taking a step back and reassessing how you're going to go about it now that you know what it you know what I mean? Like, because I can't see this hindering what you guys are looking forward to doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess, like you said perfectly, like I think the next step is like such a big step that I'm kind of like, putting everything together to make that happen. Now there was like a lot of thoughts in my mind. I was going down to Atlanta a lot, and I was thinking about like, hey, it would be really cool to like set up multiple ROK10, whether that's here in Pennsylvania and somewhere else, but then that comes with its own issues. But yeah, I don't know. I think overall, and I'm just like, I can speak for myself. Like, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what's next, like on the, physical space location for us right now. But I think we're starting like a bunch of new programs, and we're bringing in a bunch of like different artists. And that's really always what I wanted to do, is just work with as many different people as possible across like different genres. And,
With your experience of live, doing things live, is that going to be incorporated as well? Did we talk about that before? Do you already do that with ROK10?
Yeah.
We don't like...
Yeah, so my experience doesn't come from like doing live sound.
Okay.
But like being in bands
being
like I understand recording live instruments. But like, I mean, I'm capable of doing sound. And we have done a few live sound gigs, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And it is another avenue of, advertisement and obviously income, and it's fun. You get to meet people and you get to talk and be like, hey, it'd be like really cool if you came to, or if we did, but it's not. I don't know. Yeah, we've talked about investing further into it recently, and it's like we have a good setup.
Yeah, but it's again like that kind of that weird next step is like, all right, we're here, right? And then our competition now within like the live space is like these giant companies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, if we're going to be working within these same circles and stuff, like if we're going to go down like the live avenue, for example, like we need to make like a serious pivot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which isn't like out of the question, but it's kind of like, do we want that to be like our main focus?
Right. And it's also like you got something going already that's comfortable, and you don't really want to pivot unnecessarily.
Yeah, and it's just like that's what we enjoy doing. And but it's also, we're equipped enough to be like that, mid-market where it's like, we can charge some money, but we're not going to charge you $1 million to rent a backline for your backyard skate punk show. We'll come through and do sound for that.
Yeah. We're not really doing like giant live shows.
That's cool.
But yeah, we have done some live gigs this past summer. It's about to be that season again. So we'll look out. You'll see us out there probably, some smaller things and whatnot.
Cool.
But yeah, kind of within that same world too of like next big step thing. I realized this the other day. I was like, all right, like what's next? Kind of what's within that same world. And then I started looking around at like my peers, and I was like, damn, like. I don't like the whole concept of like competition when it comes to sound, because I think everyone's just got different flavors and like we can all work together. But I was also like, wow, like I've gotten myself to a place now where the studio's like, it has a good name, and some of our like, you could say competition or whatever is like, big giant studios and stuff. So when it comes to like what's next in that aspect, or what's next with the live stuff, like I don't know.
What are you guys doing to stay focused in that regard? Like obviously, being passionate about what you do and loving it, that plays a huge role, because when it comes to like competition, I'm the same way with you, where it's kind of like I'm aware of that if we look at it that way, but I'm also kind of just like in my space and enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Recognizing my peers, like loving what they're doing, learning from them, if anything, really. But like when it comes to like when you mentioned the big dogs that are doing what they're doing,
Yeah.
is that intimidating? Even though you know what you're doing and you love what you're doing,
It's inspiring, if anything.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah. You're just like, I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And like they do it too. And
Yeah.
and it's admiration and inspiration. And although, yes, there is competition, or like they are other people that do the thing, like just learning from them, not ever trying to tear anybody down, just being like, that's cool.
Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah.
And really at the end of the day, like a lot of these guys too, like all the bigger engineers or bigger studios or whatever that I've had the privilege of speaking with, we just sit down and like nerd out about gear.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all love.
That's
you know?
that's very, very true.
Yeah.
Especially when you're when you can respect when you've been paying attention to somebody's growth, that's your peer. You can have those conversations and it becomes less competitive, really. But obviously, besides ROK10, I know when we talked last time, you mentioned we talked about airspace and the podcasting, and you kind of hung your hat on this isn't really something that it kind of came off to me like we weren't sure what you wanted to do with airspace.
Yeah, I don't know.
You came back. You came back and
With a vengeance, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like when you hit 200 episodes, and I know that was a while ago, but to me that was like, holy shit, you're hitting 200 fucking episodes, and you weren't even sure what you wanted to do with airspace. But I mean, we're still here with airspace. What's the deal with that?
I don't know.
Same.
like episode, like at the time that we were recording this, episode 279 just came out.
Look at that.
And like I'm almost there to 300. I'm gonna take another break for like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I love doing it. It's become so easy to do it because you know what it is.
Yep.
You sit there, you have a conversation. Now our show isn't as produced as yours.
Yeah.
So like,
But it's still
I
dope.
record it. It takes me maybe like an hour to edit it, mix it, put it all together, and upload it. So it's not really that time consuming. And I really enjoy the conversations that I have.
No, I dig what you're saying.
But like part of me sometimes is just like, why am I doing this? Because like nobody's telling me to do it.
Still though,
You know?
I mean, like it's.
I think
there's gotta
about
be
stopping it
something
like
there.
every day.
He does.
I don't. Yeah, I like even like this week. I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna not put out an episode for like 2 weeks. But then I was like, I can't do that. I have to put an episode, at least one out every week. And like I don't know where that comes from. It's just my own manic chaos, I guess, my mind.
Yeah.
Like I do enjoy it, but sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this?
It's
I don't know how to
interesting.
explain it.
Because that was
You
2
know?
years ago, and I remember then thinking what I'm thinking now. I was just like, oh no, dude, like you're doing the thing. It's well known.
Yeah. Yeah, like we have good listenership and stuff. I just like, I don't know. Sometimes I have conversations with people and I'm like, ugh. Like, you ever do a podcast that you like didn't release? Like I've had a lot of those.
No, I haven't. But I that's actually pretty damn good. If you could have an episode, if you have an interview that you have yet to release,
Oh yeah,
because you just didn't like
there's
it.
a couple of them. Yeah,
And it's funny that's like to be at 278 episodes and
Yeah.
still have a few that you didn't want to put out.
yeah,
I'm not there yet, Byron.
yeah. I don't know.
Well,
like,
yeah. I feel like that's a bit of like the safe space of the studio. Sometimes it makes people say weird stuff, and you're just like,
Yeah, safe space. I was about to say, like, has that become, in the back of your mind, like therapeutic for you?
yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I would
probably.
think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Right? It breaks the monotony of everyday life.
Yeah, I admit and I'm very honest on that program. And I don't really edit it either.
Yeah.
That's something that people ask me all the time. Like, I'm never going to censor anybody, no matter what they want to say, whether I agree with it or not. If you say it in the microphone, we're putting it out, you know? But at the same time, like, you know, I don't know. Like, I hate to sit here and be like, yo, I have a love and hate relationship with this thing that I created. And I'm not going to stop doing it because I can't.
Yeah,
Like, there's this other part of me that's like, you have to keep doing it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just like, eh.
Well, it's become such a
It's
routine
normal.
for you. Yeah. You're conditioned now to.
It's
do
been
the
like
podcast.
6 years.
Has it been 6 years?
Yeah, 2018.
Well, I guess because it was 4 years when we talked last. time. Shit,
So within that mind, I'm like, sick. I got to keep doing this forever. I don't know, like. But I mean, I think that one part of it though is like I do love, and Ian's on like almost all of them now too, which has been sick.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next. You're involved now.
Yes, I've joined a few.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's awesome to hear like his questioning and stuff because like as you know, like we don't do any research or anything. It's all in the moment. And to have another person's perspective. For the longest time, I was like, I really want to have a co-host.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who or how or what. And yeah, I don't know. Like,
So the whole reason you brought me into ROK10 was to be your space co-host.
Yeah. That's the secret one. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm sorry. It's a bad like answer.
No.
Because I'm struggling to even, I think, understand why I don't want to do it. You know?
I just always think, I'm kind of glad that that your honest answer.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like, I think if you would have been like, no, I actually, after some time now, I've grown to.
Yeah, no, I haven't grown at all.
The reasons. It's like, no, it's a genuine. But I think that's what's cool about Earspace is it's just, it's present for a reason.
Yeah.
When you mentioned there's no editing, I know what you mean about like it's easy to do it because there's times where I'm like, I love this, but I actually started another podcast that's audio only, just to kind of take a break from this, and just pump out the shit that I would like to do. And when you do it so much, you start to like when you do this so much, then you're like, oh, I can do the audio now, like it's fucking nobody's business. So I can appreciate that, like, but I think there's something behind it for you both now, obviously, right? Like. It has to have been like some sort of like a therapeutic experience. Like, let's just break the monotony of the everyday grind that we're doing and let's shoot the shit with somebody different. Yeah. And then not doing any research. Yeah. Is tricky. Like, how is that for you guys? Because I think this is my last year of doing the no research. Okay. Yeah. Cause that gets hard after a while, especially when you don't got somebody that's willing to engage. Right.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it like I'd like to say it's like an artsy fartsy reason of why. And like it's kind of an ever evolving thing, right? Like it originally started out as not doing any research because of the reality of like I just want to get to know you. I don't want to already know you. That whole concept. That is still true. Yeah. But then also it's just easier. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Like it's like sick. Like I'm doing all this other shit like I can't be researching everybody all the time. Like, dude, we had like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I recorded like a podcast every day for like 2 weeks. Holy shit. There was like a week or two ago where I put out like 3 or 4 episodes a week. I don't know why. Nobody told me to. You know, I just like, I'm a crazy person.
I do also feel like in some cases though, not doing research, like, again, to bring it back to like the idea of like the studio is a safe space for sure, but it also like just seems like it's like a portal to a different dimension. There's no windows. There's we're not really. You can't really tell the time unless you're staring at your phone. Like there's no. It's like a casino in Vegas. Yeah, but also like telling somebody that like I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. Yeah, and we're gonna have this conversation. I feel like allows them to just tell you whatever. Yeah, like they don't filter. They give a lot of context. It can help somebody kind of really dump, which is cool. Yeah.
It's like everyone is the same thing too. You know, because there's definitely people that we've had on that like I know. And like, you know, because that just kind of got hard to navigate. I was having so many people on that I just met randomly on the street and then was like, oh shit, like you don't have anything to talk about. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I should probably like kind of rethink about this a little bit, you know? So I've had people on that I know before, but yeah, it gives everyone kind of like the same starting point. Yeah. Of like, you know, we don't know each other at all. Let's get to know each other. Yeah. So that part is true. And then also literally just the logistics of like, you know, I could schedule a podcast really fast because I just need to like go outside and be like, hey, you want to come do a thing? And people are inclined to do that, you know.
I do know the feeling of like constantly interviewing somebody you don't know, and you're doing that, and then just kind of being like, oh, I got such and such coming in. I know that person. This is going to be it's kind of like this, like, okay, we can relax. I can relax because the conversation, I'm already anticipating a great conversation. It's kind of like a refresher. Yeah. Because I don't think people understand like that. I don't want to say daunting because I don't want to minimize the human experience. But sometimes when you don't have somebody that's willing to engage or understands what's going on here,
right?
It's kind of like, you're right. It's kind of like, oh, you don't, okay, your answer's 5 seconds long. Okay, we're moving on now. And what are we going to talk about? Next thing you know, the conversation's short. But that's the whole like podcasting experience, interviewing people anyway, rather. Right. Is, you know, that's the game. I feel like is like, how can I make myself better? But I think going on for me personally, I'm going to start having a more intentional focus on my guest and and really have things prepared. Yeah. Only because I think mentally for me, I'm just starting to tap out a little. You know what I mean?
I get
like,
that.
It's hard.
You get like better like quality probably too. I mean, that was one of the reasons I was been banging them out, because I was like, I can then sift through ones and be like, maybe this conversation wasn't that great. I won't put this out. But the problem is immediately as soon as I started like recording so many episodes, I was like, sick. I'm just going to release more episodes. Yeah. So I kind of shot myself in the foot on that one. But you know, whatever.
But I mean, a lot of them have been really great chats.
Yeah.
Really good talks.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you both this question then. I mean, like, I like asking this question to people that kind of do what we do. It's like, what have you learned about people in the experience that you've had with these conversations, different people coming in, they sit down, and you're right. It's kind of like when there's a safe space and you can provide that, and obviously by now Airspace has that reputation. People know Airspace, so they know what they're getting. You have this safe space. People divulge. They become vulnerable enough to share some things. What have you learned about people in general?
I'd be curious to know your answer to that.
Generally, and I feel like I knew this a little bit. This is kind of just learning about people in life, but like nobody's that different,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Like we're all fucking people. We're all humans.
Yeah.
We all go through a lot of the same weird shit to varying degrees, and we all have not putting everybody in a box, but like we have a lot of this similar reactions to stuff.
Yeah.
And we all care about people.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Ditto.
Yeah, that and like I'm just trying to remember if I said it on the first time we did this, but like so many people have so much hope. It was really like the biggest thing that I've gotten, like even sometimes falsely placed, you know, which has been really interesting and also eye-opening, you know, to be like, wow, like, you know, you say you're going to do all these things, but, you know, we're talking about it. And it's like, wow, you don't really have anything planned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you mean internally you're registering that.
Yeah.
As people are,
And it's been interesting too, because we've had like a really wide range of ages on the show, right?
Yeah.
You know, I remember one time looking over to Ian, I was like, holy shit, like we're talking, like, I don't know if I said it out loud, but it's like we were talking to like a 16-year-old.
Okay.
Had no idea how old they were. They just were there with, I think it was the Bike Life guys, the wheelie kids.
Yeah.
Talking to them about like kind of their philosophy on life, and then being like, oh my gosh, like y'all are children. I didn't even like put this in my head, you know?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, another day we might have some, you know, late 60s people on or whatever.
Yeah.
Hearing just different perspectives of like where people are in life. And yeah, I guess really what Ian said too, of just like, wow, like we're all going through this, you know?
Yeah. And we all want everybody to do well.
Yeah. Everybody wants good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also kind of like opening the door for like conversations about like mental health and stuff. We've gotten like way more into that, I think, as time has gone on, and getting like real deep about stuff. Like, and maybe it's just me too, because I put a lot of my stuff out there too, you know. But I'd say like there's a lot of like profound sadness and a lot of profound hope.
Yeah.
In humanity in general. I mean, the people that I've talked to at least, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
yeah, that's a good point. I feel like I've learned the little nuances that I kind of like think about that I think are meaningless to other people, or like I'm the only one that thinks like this. When people start talking and they start sharing things, in my mind, I've learned and felt like, holy shit, you guys are feeling the same way. You're articulating your thoughts in this weird way like I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not the only one that does that.
Yeah.
You're right. People want hope. I've learned, I've been surprised how many people have hope considering the hardships that I've discussed with people. It's like,
It's inspiring.
Yeah.
it's inspiring, but it's also just like, I'm in awe of like, sometimes you can get like distracted with social media and like and the news and media in general, where they really make you feel like humanity is doomed. And then you have these conversations, and I'm just kind of like, no way, man, like that there's people that have these real deep thoughts, and they want to have these conversations, whatever it is. Pick the topic. You mentioned mental health, which is another topic that comes up often on this podcast, where I'm like, kind of always floored how people want to really like push this conversation, as opposed to being like, when my parents were growing up, it was taboo to talk about things like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can appreciate that. I like asking that question because it's not like you guys have a podcast where you're talking about cars, or it's strictly about music, or today we're going to talk about said topic. It's the conversation with people,
Right.
and it's different people, different age groups. You don't know what's coming. You don't know where this conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that.
It's a trip.
And if you're doing as many as you just mentioned, you were doing in a week. One of the things I remember when we talked last was you showed me your calendar on your phone. Is it still that busy with interviews? Like
not so much like this month, like with the podcast, because I'm kind of like rolling it down a little bit, because I did get a little bit overwhelmed, and then was like, I'm gonna stop doing it, and went through that whole thing in my mind. But yeah, I mean, I have like a couple scheduled out into like next month, and I
feel like there will be like a 2-week period where you're like, we're doing a fucking podcast every day this week for the next 2 weeks, and then that'll create a backlog, and then that'll exist for like 2 weeks, and then you're like, oh man, I need to start doing more podcasts.
Yeah, and then I'll like book a whole bunch. Like I'll go. What happens a lot is like I'll go to like an event.
Yeah.
I'll meet a ton of people and be like, hey, come on the podcast. Come on the podcast. Come on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't want to say like selfishly, like one of the reasons that I'm still doing it, I think, is like I love meeting people and I love talking to folks. And there's so many people that have been on the podcast that I'm like, we're friends now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we just had some like super deep conversation about some shit. And like, you know, even a lot of the times, like what I really, really enjoy is like the artists that we're working with. Because like, you know, I've said this time and time again, like when you're doing a session and you're working with somebody, like you can only go so deep.
Yeah.
Like, you're working. You know, you're working. Mm-hmm. You can get to know somebody very well, don't get me wrong, but like there's only so much of it. When you can just sit down with them and talk for like an hour.
Yeah.
And really get to know them as a person and then go create, or vice versa. It opens up a whole other world of understanding like who they really are, you know?
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that last time. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you would have sessions and then do a podcast with that?
Yeah, it's kind of like always
or back and
one way or the other, yeah.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like when like Joe Rogan had The Rock on like a month or so ago, and they had like a whole day of working out, and then they did the podcast.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it was like, that's pretty cool, because you're not just in this little bubble of the podcast world. There's also other things you're talking about that you can kind of come together and discuss, and already have some sort of like a foundation.
Yeah. Did they record a conversation in, like, was it like you're saying like they just hung out and worked out, and then
it was a bunch of them.
That's
okay. They were all, you know, and then they were like, then they started the podcast, and it was just Rogan and The Rock, and they were like talking about the day.
Yeah. And that's just goes to show like, how good of a friendship they have, and how they're able to, because there have been a few times where it's like we'll meet somebody for the first time, and then we start having a conversation outside the studio before we go in, and we're halfway through, like, oh wait, hold on, like we can't have this conversation twice.
Right.
Yeah.
You start to get to know somebody before
it's a
you sit
double-edged
down.
sword because
Right.
it's like you're kind of like getting the feel this is going to be a good conversation, but you're right. You're like, okay, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's
Don't give
not
it away
have
before
the
prom.
conversation
Yeah.
now. Yeah. So Earspace ROK10. Let's talk about how busy you guys are and how you're managing your time, because one of the things that I'm dealing with is like time management.
Yeah.
And we talked about burning yourself out.
Yeah.
Feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And there, I'm going through a period in my life right now where, I have a day job, I do this, and with a family, there's times where I'm like, let me pump the brakes, and slow things down, which I'm going to get ready to do here.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you're managing your time and now that Ian, you're involved in this as well.
Right. I was gonna say, I feel like I'm assisting in his ability.
Ian is
to
my
do
time
that.
management.
Yeah. Like,
Do you ever
No, I'm
like
just
check
joking,
in with
but-
his time management now that you're on board and seeing? And
Well,
seeing
yeah.
what,
I mean,
what
we-
you came into.
yeah, we
Yeah.
share the calendar, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
You can tell when someone starts to feel burnout, and I always offer help. But it's like, yeah, part of my existence and part of the reason for me being there is to be like, hey, you can like go home and hang out with your girlfriend, and I'll do these sessions, and like it's fine, and like it's gonna go well, and like because I do other stuff outside the studio as well. I'm a personal trainer, and I play in 4 bands now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Ian's a very busy guy.
Yeah.
So I'm playing lots of shows and doing all that stuff, and bringing bands in, recording bands at the studio, and we just share a calendar. And
Yeah. I feel like our schedule in the last like couple weeks is like an inchworm. Like in the way that it's like we'll be not really that busy for like a week, and then we're like incredibly busy for like 2 weeks, and then we're like not really that busy. Like even like this week's been like pretty chill, but like the thing that's weird with running a studio and stuff is like Ian and I joke about it. I'm like, are all these people like secretly like colluding?
Like,
are
they all
like
on the
around the
same
same
pay
time?
schedule?
Yeah, right. Because it's like, dude, like, are like, all right, like take a random Friday. Fridays and Saturdays are like always slammed, right?
Yeah.
Weekdays here and there, this, that, and the other. It's always random. But like you could have one week where like maybe like a couple folks come in and we're mostly working on production, and like we're always busy, whether we're working with artists or we're like making pre or post production for other artists or whatever. But like it'll be super chill, and then all of a sudden like everyone
Once
comes.
this time,
Like everyone
on this
wants to
Friday.
come on this one day.
Yeah.
And it's like people that like sometimes, because we'll work with people that are on a project that it's like, they're coming in every week or they're coming in every other week. And then there's people that like we haven't worked with in like 2 years, and they'll hit us up on that day too.
Wow.
And that none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
No
rhyme or
I
reason.
really like, I've tried to track it. I've looked at all of our analytics. I've looked at all of our calendars. I even reached out at one point. Shout out to our old intern / amazing producer Rachel.
Yeah.
Her dad, who I had on the podcast, runs like a business logistics company.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, here's all our data. Like we can't really like, I didn't hire his actual company to do it, but I was like kind of just getting into a little bit of it.
Yeah, I dig it.
I was like, here's my schedule. Like, can you explain to me like how this is? And he was like, I have no idea. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
That's where you just park it. Like, I'm not even going to bother trying. If you can't figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I think like, I mean, having Ian here has been fantastic from both a perspective of also like expanding and doing different things that I'm not so comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then also being able to serve the artists with like better quality of like somebody that really knows specifically about like drum stuff and like band things. And my mind is still very focused in the hip hop world.
Yeah.
Just because I've been doing it for so long. But like from a scheduling perspective too, even like tomorrow. I was like, hey, dude, I got to go to like Philly at like 3 a.m. to drop somebody off at the airport. Like, can you work tomorrow morning? And he's like, yeah. I was like, sick. Because like normally in my mind, it's like, all right, like I just won't
Close the
sleep.
studio. Yeah. Or don't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that.
I can appreciate that. I feel like when you guys are as busy as you two are, and I would like to pick your brain specifically here because you just mentioned 4 bands, and when I ask how do you do that, I literally mean how do you do that, because I'm not in a band. I don't play an instrument or sing for that rather, but to do it in 4 different bands. Are you playing the same instrument in 4 different bands?
Yeah. I play drums in all 4 bands.
Okay. How are we doing that? I mean, is it like I need to be in 4 bands, more bands?
4 bands need a drummer, or like, not, yeah.
Okay, so it's like people are looking for a drummer, and you're like, I got you.
Yeah.
It's also very good.
I play the drums.
Awesome. I spoke with K-Rock.
Hell yeah, he's very good.
He's a good guy.
And we talked a little bit about this and his involvement with different bands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's
he's
like that.
he jumps around and plays in a bunch of outfits as well.
Yeah. No,
but that's just the nature. Yeah, that's the nature of playing drums. Is like everybody needs one, and like the one band is like friends that I've known since I moved here 10 years ago. So
where'd you move from? I'm sorry.
Delaware County, just outside the airport, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, when both you guys flying out of Philly?
No, we're flying out of Baltimore.
Oh, okay. You're going to Philly though, right? Yeah. If you drive past the Ridley Park exit, you could take that and go see my parents' old house.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I moved up here to go to Millersville and met a bunch of those guys at Millersville. And I dropped out after a semester, but I was like, this place is sick, and I stuck around.
Yeah.
And then another one, that band's called Dog Barking, Men Shouting.
Okay.
And it's like a weird, we don't really know what we are yet, but we have a lot of fun doing our stuff. Like that's a newer band. We've only been around for like a year or 2, maybe. No, probably just a year.
Less than that, I think.
Yeah.
So there's dog barking, man shouting.
Yeah.
Men shouting?
Men shouting. Men shouting. Singular dog, multiple men shouting.
Gotcha.
And then Flapjack Jones and the Bender Bros, which was another scenario of like, they needed a drummer, and this was 6 years ago now, and we've been playing for a long time together, and I just tracked drums for a new EP album. We don't know what we're doing yet, but I just tracked drums for 5 songs for them over the weekend, this past weekend. But like I mentioned, I had a space at the Chameleon. I basically lived at the Chameleon for a while. You thought 4 bands was a lot. At one point I was in 7 bands, so I would have a rehearsal every night of the week. And I had a space above the Chameleon, so it's like my drums are there. You're all going to come to my room, and that's the case now. Is like everybody's in the same room. We all share gear. I make it as easy as possible for everybody, because it's got to be as easy as possible. It's for me too, because it's like there was a moment when I had the space there, and then I joined another band, and they were like, "Yeah, that's a cool space, but like we really like where we're rehearsing now. Only problem is our drummer took all his drums." So I was taking my drums, and this is when I got tired of the stairs. Mm-hmm. I was taking my drums from the top floor of the Chameleon Club down to Wrightsville and back, because I needed them there for rehearsal the next day. Wow. And I was like, fuck that. Wow. You guys are going to come over here.
Yeah.
I was playing in a ton of bands at the Chameleon, and Dylan Madar, who's our guitar player, was bartending there at the time, and he would see me most nights either rehearsing or playing in the lounge, or I played a bunch, I played a lot of shows there. And one day he was just like, "You want to play this blues band?" And it's been like one of my favorite bands that I played in my whole life. Okay. Actually, I love all those guys a lot, and they're all very, very good players. Yeah, if you're interested in like,
you said blues.
It's like classic rocky, but like with some pop to it. But it's fun. It's a really fun time. Flapjack Jones and the Bender Bros. We have an album out called "Whistle Through the Woods." Okay. And then eventually, within the next year, hopefully, we'll release at least these 5 songs.
Okay. All right.
That's 2. I play in a hardcore band, hardcore punk band called Punctured.
I like that name. Cool.
I joined after they recorded the last record, because their drummer moved to Colorado, and is another friend of mine that I lived with when I lived in Millersville, who was like, "Hey, I need drums." Also love the guy, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I just the next 2 songs that we're going to record are actually coming out of ROK10. I recorded myself playing the drums at the studio and then recorded everybody else, and just actually finished the first track. We're doing a split with a Harrisburg band called Back to Life.
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's beefy.
Super heavy.
Good riffs.
Yeah.
And then I just rejoined a local Lancaster band called Apes of the State.
Okay.
They're a folk punk band, so it's like punk rock adjacent style music. Played on, originally it was like acoustic guitar, mandolin, violin, and vocals, and they would all just like get around a mic. But then April was like, I want to electrify this, and I played in a band with Molly, the violin player, and they recommended me to Apes, and they were like, so I joined them in 2019, played for a little while, did a tour with them, and then couldn't commit to what they asked. Sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, go
but
for it.
they had, we did like a nice 3-week tour that was really fun out to Chicago, and then they've been growing ever since, and it's really cool. And when we got back from that, they were like, "Do you want to join the band?" At this point, this is post-COVID, so I think 2 of the bands I was in before that had died, so I was back down to like 2, maybe 3. But I'd also just taken a job, and this is where I'm like, this is part of when I decided that I don't want to do day jobs, and I'm trying to exist in this realm entirely and try to sustain myself on it, which is hard, but we're working on it. So then they got a drummer for the past 2 years. This is like the end of 2019 into nowish, so 3 years. And then that didn't work out, and they just recently reached out to me and were like, hey, this is ending, and we still have a bunch of tours coming up. We played with you before, and we really liked it. It was fun, and you know most of the songs already. Come join us on this next one. So actually at the end of this month, the 28th, I leave for a month-long European run with them.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, so we're going to do the whole month of May in Europe, and then come back, record some tunes, and then do like Northern America down the coast and back through Texas.
Cool. And that's all within the month? Or the
No,
month is the
we
European?
come. Yeah, May is Europe, and then
So you're gonna be
recording
busy.
June, July, and then August, September is that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the rest, I mean, this year you've got a lot on your plate already.
Doing some stuff,
Yeah.
and at all the same time working on an 8-song album with a band at the studio.
Yeah.
And finishing the punctured stuff either before I leave or while I'm on tour if I can.
Yeah.
So time management is hard, but we're working on it.
But I appreciate it because it's like I think one thing I'm always like in awe of is like when people like, you just told me everything and it just came off nonchalant. Like, yeah, you know, I got this, that, and the third. And my anxiety already started going like, because I'm like, man, I gotta be everywhere at once. It seems like, and but I guess also when you're doing what you love doing, it's kind of like that adrenaline rush where that second wind kicks in.
And I've also kind of been doing it my whole life
There you
to
go.
a degree.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I in all the way back to high school, like I was in competitive marching band. So like I learned how to be a touring musician by showing up at the school at 9 a.m. to rehearse for 4 hours before you load the truck and get on the bus and drive to the competition and then unload and then
That's a good
rehearse for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Perform for, the whole day for 7 to 9 minutes on a field. Pack it all up, go home, don't sleep, since I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
And then I marched for an independent organization outside of high school, which was even more like eye-opening and like behind the scenes production stuff and figuring out a lot of that stuff. And I was like, oh, all this stuff is, possible. You just have to be able to do it, and then you just do it. And
it's a give and take.
Right.
I'm sure. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like this is also the first time this words tough. This is the first time I'll be doing anything like this while I have a partner. Like I'd been alone for the past 10 years.
Gotcha.
And like I just before I leave for Europe will be my year anniversary with my girlfriend.
Gotcha.
And like that's huge for her, but like having her as well is something that I've never experienced. And it's like, oh, there's like a person that is helping me with a lot of this stuff and helping me cope with this stuff and talking me through, these things. And I was like, when I got the offer before I even said yes, I was like, is this something you're down with? And she's like, how could I not?
Yeah.
And that's huge because that was something I'd always been terrified of.
Sure.
The whole time I was doing this, I was like, oh, well, I couldn't have a girlfriend because I'm so busy. Like I'm married to my 7 bands and like all this stuff. And like, I still am, but it's like I'm in an open relationship with my girlfriend and my bands.
Yeah.
And I just found the right one to bring into
She's
it.
okay with it.
And that's dope. Yeah. It's so helpful.
So she's going with, then I'm assuming? Or?
Not for this one. I will be making some dollars while I'm doing that, but it helps to have another person at home also making money. So she'll be.
The support.
Yes.
Like you said, like there's no way I could be in a relationship that can't work. But
right.
Then you realize that it can.
Yeah.
To have somebody willing to ride with you in that regard, that is that's I know that feeling. It's dope. So kudos to you. I appreciate you said you're rambling. You're not, because that's like that right there is cool to me. Really? Just to hear the nuances of the everyday life that you don't really probably get to talk about often. Well, maybe you do. You got a podcast, right. But like.
Well, I don't really open up too much. So usually then I'm trying to get them to open up. So I appreciate you giving me the space to do
absolutely.
so.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think it shows like everybody's doing what they got to do. You can get lost in the sauce when you're busy grinding and hustling and going at it, and then to kind of take a step back and be like, oh shit, like I'm doing a lot, and I can still kind of just be at peace. Sometimes it's myself personally, I can get a little like stressed and my anxiety, and I gotta pace around another part of the freaking city, maybe just get away from Lancaster, and so I can appreciate that. When we're talking about projects, and I want to get into what we discussed here.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, because
I was gonna wear a mask.
Yeah. I was and I was totally down to do it.
Dude,
I wasn't sure what the angle was, but I what I was appreciating was like the you wanting to. Is this a pseudo character? Is it? Like,
I just want it to be separate from everything that I'm currently doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how can I do that? And I was like, well, I'll wear a mask. And then I was like, well, it would be kind of silly to not use the platform that I have to promote this thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I was like literally while we were talking, I was like in that moment being like, all right, like, okay, I guess I'll just change the entire approach to this entire project. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff that I do has like a lot of planning and stuff behind it, especially this project.
Sure. Yeah.
But then when it comes to like, all right, now it's time to actually do it. I'm like, oh, I have all these new ideas,
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean, Klaus Matubi.
Okay, that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where did this name come from?
So, I'm driving, right? On the way to the studio, probably. There's a Mitsubishi in front of me, and it's missing some of the letters, and it says Matubi, and I was like, that'll be the name. And then I was like, it's all like techno music and like house music, so it was like Klaus. So Klaus Matubi was in the back of my mind for a while, and then I don't know, somewhere in the last like couple months, I was like, Ian, I gotta make this new name. Because originally I was just going to release all this stuff under ROK10. And then I was like, that's not a good idea.
And then you had one.
Mob Hop.
Yeah, Mob Hop.
So, I was in a session with...
Mom Hop?
Mob.
Oh, Mob Hop.
Yeah, it's too confusing. That's why it doesn't exist.
Right. But you did your case study and you figured it out.
Yeah, that was a fun story too. Because like I was in a session with Juicebox from LSR Records. Big shout out to him. And he was telling me something about a song, and he was like, my pops made this. And I thought he said Mob Hop. So I was like, dude, Mob Hop, that's a sick name. And he was like, no, my pops, like my father. And I was like, cool. Oh, sick, Mob Hop will be my new name. And then like everyone I told it to was like, "That's fucking awful."
No, I like it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but I was like, yeah, it's fine.
You know, it's got to be honestly.
I like the other one.
I do
better,
like
though.
Klaus
Yeah.
Matubi.
Yeah.
Klaus Matubi
It's
better.
really big shout out to Lindsay, the secret partner of ROK10. You know, we were talking about earlier about partners and how helpful they can be. Just real want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah.
Like I've now it's almost 9 years that Lindsay and I have been together. And like when we met, the studio was a thing, but it wasn't like my full-time gig, and it was kind of like in a weird position. So she's really grown with me as the studio itself has grown. And big shout out to her.
Yeah.
Just want to say that. I don't say
Absolutely.
it enough. But yeah, Klaus Matubi, I don't even know how to explain this.
House techno.
Yeah. So like in 2011, 2012, when ROK10 first started, and I think we got into this before, it was his DJ group.
Yeah.
Myself and this other guy, Sawyer, were DJing primarily like house music. And the goal was to someday make our own house music and release it. I just took a very weird way there, you know, and like starting the studio and then doing all the hip hop stuff and the beats and whatever. But the whole time, like learning a lot about like what it takes to release music, to create music, to mix music, to make really quality stuff, to perform, all that good stuff. So like the whole time since the beginning of this, I've been making house music and techno music. I just haven't released any of it. And, you know, I got to give you props. I got to give big props to Ian. I have maybe like 500 or 600 songs at this point that are like done.
Yeah, talk about a backlog.
And Ian was like, dude, you got to release them. Like, because he would see me in there, you know, dude, check out this awesome song I made or whatever. And he's like, if you don't put it out, like,
who cares?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Like, you know,
What are we doing?
Because they're all sick too, and it's
Yeah.
like I get that idea
Yeah.
of like perpetual. I need to fuck with it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting better. Because my biggest thing was like, Breakfast with Strangers was this album that I was like, I'm going to put this album out.
You
It's
still
gonna be all
have, you still
electronic
should
music.
release it.
Yes, I have a plan.
Sure you do.
Well, so like I realized the problem is the more as time went on, I either learned more about like the sonic aspect of like, oh, I'm better at creating the actual music,
Sure.
or I learned more about the business side. And I got to say, like with the Breakfast with Strangers thing, it's ready to go. I have a date in my mind. I'm not going to say it publicly because like I want to release a couple singles first to be like, hey, I'm an artist. Instead of just like, here's a project, you know?
Okay, I got you.
So the first single came out on March 1st called Human. It's like really upbeat, dancey, housey stuff. I have a 4-song drum and bass record with Velcro Lestrange coming out like as soon as it starts to get hot out. I don't have like a I'm like, dude, as soon as it's hot out, I'm going to release this.
Okay.
It's sick. Velcro.
It's pretty dope. Yeah, shout out to Velcro.
Big fan.
And then, yeah, all the rest of them, I'm just like, I could if I wanted to. It really geeked me out the other day. I was like, I could release one song every day for the next like couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that would be cool to put out some, you know, look at this artist that's doing this crazy thing.
Yeah.
So I might still do that. I'm actually going to release the next single probably next month. But then it's weird, like in the process of actually releasing the stuff, I was like, oh, this isn't, I don't like, I like lost all the care that I had for it. I was like, I'm just release these songs. And then I have some like really interesting ideas on how I want to market some of them and how I want to do like some interesting physical releases.
Okay.
Like there's a lot, like the Klaus Matubi stuff is like all the weird stuff that I can't or really shouldn't do with ROK10. Like I was like, I want to release a record that's a pillow.
Okay.
So like it has a Bluetooth speaker in the
Yeah.
and like I went down all the logistics and I priced it out and was like, no one's gonna want to put their head on a Bluetooth receiver and whatever, a transceiver.
Yeah, that only plays these songs.
Yeah, like whatever. It was a bad idea. But like the thought, like that's where all the Klaus Matubi stuff is. It's just fun, you know.
Yeah, but that again, that goes back to like the rabbit hole of ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, and then that kind of goes back full circle to like the releasing of this stuff and being like, I don't want it to be about me because it's not about me. It's just about the music. But also like, I'm going to go on platforms like this and be like, hey, check out Klaus Matubi on Spotify and all streaming platforms. Because like, why not?
I agree.
You know?
You should. Yeah. I can understand too, like the art being made for the sake of making the art, but 500 to 600
It's a
songs,
lot.
dude.
It's a lot.
There's several projects in there already that can be
And I'm talking about like 500 or 600 songs that like was more. Like those are like the ones that like they're done. They're mixed and mastered.
Yeah.
At the height of it, there was I don't even know how many.
Wow.
Files.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's all like house music, club stuff,
Okay.
electronic in nature, some more experimental stuff. And then I actually just signed on to do like a dark ambient EP with Juicebox. And that's going to be under Klaus Matubi.
Okay, I was just getting ready to say you mentioned Velcro. Is that under the Klaus Matubi name as well?
No. So Velcro Lestrange is an artist that we met. He's actually on the Cypher. I don't know if you saw the ROK10 Cypher V2. He was the last guy.
Oh yeah, if not, you gotta.
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
I'll check it out.
It's like our best
8-9 minutes you'll spend this week. I'd say.
Yeah, that was like a thing that took like 2 years. That was like
so sick.
It very well executed. I don't want to like toot my own horn about stuff, but
so
like
sick.
ROK10 Cypher V2. Where's is that the camera?
Yeah, YouTube.
Watch it.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Okay. Put the link out there then as well.
Yeah. The link's in our bio.
Okay.
But yeah, Velcro Lestrange is an artist that I've been working with for a while. I've had him on the podcast before. He's a really interesting character. He's from Sierra Leone. Been through a lot of wild stuff. You should check out his podcast.
Okay.
But he's one of my favorite people that I've ever met. I don't think I've ever met someone like so positive and like creative and also like good.
Yeah.
You know, like he just like freestyles off the top of his head and it's like amazing, which is actually like very rare. You know? But yeah, so that project's with him. And then the Juicebox stuff, he's another producer that I actually met during the Hidden Sessions.
Yeah.
Which
we'll be returning this month.
Yes, the sign-up sheet is
Is it the 21st?
We no, it's not, but we're not advertising the date.
Fair.
But it's a hidden. If you're accepted, you'll figure out when the date is. It's not on the 21st.
It's the 27th. Right before I leave.
Yeah, it's sometime at the end of the month. Klaus Matubi. Yes, house music. Okay. So like there's a lot of it's like I within the electronic space, like just trying to be opposite from all the other stuff that I do. Like I love all the hip hop stuff, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'm like, you know, how can I go as far in the other direction as possible? So it's mostly all electronic stuff, but then there's also like other projects that I've worked on that probably will get released under Klaus Matubi itself. You know, like that Screamo record that I made the other day. I was like, I should release this. Like, why not? It's actually pretty good. So Klaus Matubi is really just going to be like, and is all the other stuff that ROK10 doesn't do.
When you mentioned the sonics and learning more, I mean, like, do you think that will always be? That's like a double-edged sword where it's like it's beautiful that you're there now, but it could also like keep you from saying the fuck it. I'm just gonna put it out there. And
it's like the never-ending journey of self-improvement,
right? But it's like you'll never have the data to, you know what I mean? It's like you can have a bad release, or like you make a release and then 4 years later you make another release, or even 2 months later, and they can sound different,
right?
But you'll never have them. Have it all there if you never put it out.
Just put it out.
But at the same, you could still, you have your own archive, but nobody else is going to know. And I think that's the fear of people.
Yeah. And I'm finally like
something is better or different.
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I feel like I'm finally in a place production wise, and like I hate to say it because it sounds like kind of silly or cocky or whatever, but like I know what I'm doing.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I can like sit down and be like, I know how this works. And like I've known how it worked for a long time, but I can like finally admit that to myself now and be like, all right, like here it is. Here's a song that like it sounds the same as you would hear some other random song. You know what I mean? Like sonically.
I dig it.
And that just took a long time to mentally
accept
that.
I think what it comes down to is like that's really what it is. It's like coming to terms with that and being at peace and being okay with giving yourself flowers. I think a lot of people, including myself, have that. Like it's like they call it imposter syndrome sometimes. Like, am I supposed to be here? Like, no, I'm fucking nice. I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, I have that real bad.
Yeah, it's like sometimes like for me, I need other, like my wife is that person for me to be like, no, you like that's where you belong. Right. And then it takes time for me to kind of fill in fill in for myself, even though I know I'm already there. I gotta like actually step into myself and be like, no, I am him, as they say.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's cool it's cool that you're having that moment. And I think it's safe to say that, even though you mentioned like your love for hip hop, but like 500 to 600 songs of house and techno in the electronic world, that shows you've got a lot of love for that as well.
I know. Yeah.
I
love music.
500 to 600 that you've kept.
That are like done. Ready to go.
So fuck, man. I'm excited now. I mean, I know you don't want to give out dates and shit, and I dig it. But I mean, fuck, man. Like, it made this year. You said this year?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like,
it's another single.
What's here? We'll do a. When's this gonna come out?
This will probably come out around this early summer.
Okay.
I'm back.
I don't know. I'll release a song on June 1st. How about that?
June 1st?
Yeah. There you go.
Because I'll time this episode for that then.
Yeah.
See what we're
maybe
doing.
Maybe I'll put the EP out that day.
There you go.
Yeah. Look, that's how it happens.
See, this is how it's done.
Yeah. It's in the calendar, so it's gonna happen.
See, Ian's putting it in his calendar too.
Well, no, I just got the calendar notification.
Oh, okay. In case this guy tries to back out of it, like, nah, dude, you got. Yeah, man. I think it's cool. I was definitely down to do the interview with you in the mask.
It's a cool mask too. I'm not gonna lie.
What is the mask?
I have this. I'm sorry.
No, do you want to say what the mask is? Or?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I did do like a kind of tongue-in-cheek one with Jam Hot Radio, where like she was wearing a mask and I was wearing a mask.
Okay.
And I was like, "Hey, what's up? It's Klaus Matubi," but like we were clearly at ROK10. Like it was like very like jokey, you know. But no, I have this. This is a weird story. I met this guy at a birthday party in like 2018, maybe. Bradley Douglas Jordan, awesome dude.
Okay.
Chopping it up. He's showing me all this really cool art that he does, and he has all these masks. And I was like, wow, these masks are really cool. Like full face covering grass, or full like the diamond mask is the one that I have. And then he went on to like design masks for like Cardi B and like all the Kanye West masks and like all that stuff. And I bought one from him way back then before he kind of like blew up or whatever. Yeah. So I was like, yo, this mask is like, it's worth a lot of money now too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, sick. But it's also like this cool little, like, it's an art piece, you know? And I've gone back and forth with him over the years about like designing different like custom masks. Like we really wanted to do one that was with bullet casings, but like there was a whole bunch of logistics of like the weight of it and whatnot. But yeah, it's like a diamond mask. I've worn it in a couple performance videos. Yeah, it's a cool mask. Yeah. But like when I go perform Klaus Matubi stuff, like DJ stuff, like I might wear that.
I was about to say, is that what you plan on doing? Like,
yeah, I want to go back.
Will be part of the.
Yeah. Probably because like when I started out this whole thing DJing, I don't have any gear anymore, but I'm like I'll just go out and get all this stuff. Like I remember how to do it. So full circle.
Yeah, I dig it. No, man, I'm down for it. I think it's good for you too. Like especially when you mention like how your focus is here, but you're pushing yourself out of your. I don't know if it's safe, if it's their comfort zone or not, because you're still comfortable in it, but it's different.
I don't know. I feel like right now personally, I'm like spread more thin than I ever have, but in a focused way.
Okay.
Like I am doing so many different things, but I finally have figured out how to do multiple things. You know, like when I first started the studio and stuff, I was DJing, I was producing, and I was engineering, and I like started to notice that some elements were lacking because I was spread out. But now I'm essentially doing all those same things, plus the podcast, plus like the ROK10 Rollers stuff, plus all the businessy stuff and whatever. And I'm like, hell yeah. Yeah. This is good. I feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. Kudos to both of you. I mean, I think staying busy and productive is imperative for like good mental health and taking care of yourself, is being consistent and something that you love doing. You don't want to be being consistent in something you hate doing.
Right.
So like, and obviously the way I wrap my interviews is I think we did this where I kind of like ask what the game plan is here, but we kind of already like tiptoed into that. Maybe talked about the roller papers. You did mention like when it comes to looking at different buildings and the different rooms, like I kind of want to circle back to that because I really would like to know what is that vision of, you talked about, I think you mentioned classes or teaching. Like what are you, what
like
else
a
is ROK10
multi-purpose space?
Yeah.
Basically,
just more space.
or like, you know, with the possibility of like a co-working space, but essentially, yeah, like, you know, control room, maybe main live room, mixing rooms or rehearsal rooms,
Event space,
gym,
barbershop.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, my ideal
but really, though,
space,
like
like
gym, barbershop.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
like,
realistically, like,
apartment or like,
okay,
multi-unit
kitchen,
living space, possibly on the roof, so that way, it gets to the point where
trampoline room,
you get, a mid-scale similar idea to ROK10. They have the hotel ROK10. They'll put people up, or like,
or even like the Rec Philly model.
Yep.
Same concept. I was very fortunate to hang out with those guys when they were planning. Shout out to Worldwide Wednesday. He put that together. It was down in Miami last year when they were like building out their new location down in Miami, and like talking to them about like how they got everything going and just seeing like how they can help multiple different artists and creators and be like, wow, like, it's not like stealing their idea or anything like that, but it's kind of that business model has existed for a while of having like a multi-use space. And I think that would be like the overall goal. You know what I mean? I don't know when that's going to happen. But I say when, not like if, because like,
it's going to happen.
Yeah. Like one of my biggest things that I'm proud of is like my goal list. And I shared a more recent one with you. And we've already checked off a lot of those things, which is cool. Like every year, at the beginning of the year, I make a giant list of goals. And almost every year, I've been able to knock off almost all of them. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, sick. And some of them are like kind of like grandiose. So.
Yeah. Well, even the idea of like the barbershop, gym, living quarters, if you will.
Yeah. Right.
Like it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean,
surrounding
that's, kind of conceptual, but I mean, even like you look at some of these like really, really big flagship studios all over the world, like they'll have living spaces so bands can come and stay for like, a month while they're working or whatever.
I dig it. You mentioned ROK10. I work for Tate, so it's
right. Yeah, something in that capacity, and then just like, I don't know.
Make cool stuff. Yeah. Make cool stuff. Do cool things. Yeah. Have lots of fun. Yeah. Make friends.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not very complicated.
That's all it's about.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it.
Yep.
Think, right?
Yep.
Cool, man.
But at the same time, have an idea of what you'd like to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want to have
the vision,
blueprint, sort of like where we're going. But I think that's the best way to go about it too. Where it's just like, let me. I have my goals. I have my wants and my expectations, but they're also like, I keep them very. I don't hang my hat on everything needs to be this way. I've learned the hard way where it's like, there's my goal, but I want to go this way, but I end up. Life takes you this way.
Yeah, right.
And you can get confused that you're not going towards your goal. Really, you are. You're just going a different route.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just go with it. Enjoy the process. Try to learn from the people that are coming into your space for as long.
Oh, absolutely.
Their seasons are short or long. However it is, take time to appreciate and learn from them. You know what I mean? Like that goes back to like when we mentioned the competition. It's like, no, these are like my peers, and like, I'm actually learning from them, and I'll study them.
Yeah.
And what are they doing, and how are they doing it, and let me study, and how can I apply that? Because it's not stealing. Everybody does that.
Right.
Let me gather this information from you.
Yeah.
So I can really appreciate this conversation. I'm glad both of you stopped by, Ian. It was awesome to finally meet.
Yeah. Lovely to meet you as well.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
No.
Dude, and also like congratulations on all this, man. Like this is sick.
Thank
to
you.
See like where it started at to now be sitting here and be like, dude, this is like this is real.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. It's and again, that comes back to like doing it so much and you get lost in it. Sometimes you have to take a step back and be like, let me not be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm baby steps, but there's a lot and there's more. Like I already have my own shift that I'm getting ready to do, I need to step it up and change things. So I'm looking forward to doing that and watching what you guys do as well. So,
Hell yeah.
Ian, Byron, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
That's it, brothers. All right.
Sick.